had a client come in, a 13-year-old who was mostly nonverbal. She would just like scroll on her phone and like rock back and forth. She had a history of really intense trauma. And I saw that she had a gender clinic appointment coming up, her first one. And I asked her how she felt about that. And she said she didn't know she had one. And then after that initial appointment, her dad asked me to write a letter to start testosterone. And so I emailed my boss and I emailed the person who did the training. And I said, they want me to write this letter for this young child to begin testosterone. And I just feel like there's so many reasons why that's not a good idea. My boss came into my office a few days later and was like, I want you to know the person who did the training has reported you to risk management. I met with risk management numerous times. They ultimately determined that I was the risk. They took the child from me, said I was incompetent to work with gender distressed young people. And shortly thereafter, I left Multicare and I went someplace else. And 3 weeks after starting that new job, my article in the Free Press came out. Lost my job, single mom of 3 little kids. I ended up opening my own practice. I got letters from the state saying I was being investigated for not being gender affirming. That's where we are today.
The saddest thing about this is that there are people out there who are actually trying to help these patients. There are people out there in the medical field who understand and believe, like myself, that, you know, anybody who thinks that they're a different gender than they actually are, there's clearly a mental illness there. Like, I mean, it's not even up for debate. And, you know, it's even worse that these institutions and these medical, you know, the bosses, the people at the top, they considered her as the risk. A 13-year-old who had no idea that she had an appointment scheduled, right? And she tries to intervene and say, you know, like a 13-year-old getting like gender affirming care is kind of like that's kind of like crazy. And you can even see how this indoctrination as well goes into the family, because as you can hear from her, right, she said that it was the dad who actually requested that she write the letter for the 13-year-old girl to start testosterone, which is crazy to me. Like, that's insane. And, you know, she then passed the information on to her boss and she was like, you know, this is very, very, you know, iffy. And then somebody reported her to risk management and they decided that she was the risk. Incredible. And what happened to her eventually, where she, you know, she left the job and went to another job, and, you know, 2 weeks later the article came out and she lost her job at that other place, just shows you, like, when you're not in line with the narrative, they'll do anything possible to come after you. When you're not reiterating what they want you to say and go with the norm or what's supposed to be perceived as politically correct and being so accepting, right? They try to cancel you, and that is exactly what happened here. So she had to start her own practice, which probably in the limelight of things right now, the business is probably doing well because she's doing this big convention thing and she got invited here. We are at a point now where the medical professionals, the experts, are now being demonized and suppressed for, you know, pointing out an issue.